Hey there, today we are talking about the blog, The Comment That Changed How I See Humans. And this one is all about, years ago, I had a mentor say something to me that made me stop in my tracks. He told me, as we were talking about group fitness and, what do people want? Why do they come to a group fitness class? And this particular mentor, we always joked because he calls himself a senior, and I always told him that the appropriate term was active older adult. And so anytime he would say it, he would kind of give me that little wink, and he'd say, okay, Lindsay, this is what he told me. Most seniors do not exercise because they want to be challenged. They have been challenged their whole lives. What they actually want is mobility and longevity. They want to figure out how to get a little more time, and they want independence during that time. And so I remember thinking, well, that is very, very different from the burn more calories, push harder, no pain, no gain classes that I had been so used to teaching. Because suddenly, the question was not, how do I challenge people more? Because I always wanted to. I wanted to make sure they were getting super sweaty and that they left and they were sore the next day and they were thinking about me. But the question at this point changed from, how do I challenge people more? And it became, what do people actually need from me? And then, of course, as I do, I went down a massive rabbit hole. It was not a casual Googling. It was a full-blown spiral. And as a matter of fact, I still have the notes all over my whiteboard next to my desk. And I was looking into things, research about human development and psychology and why we worry, why we move, why we don't. And what I found, it applied to a lot more than just group fitness classes. Because here's the wild part that I realized. Your worries, the things you worry about, change with age, right? But the reason you worry, it really doesn't change that much. And so then I started breaking it down by age group. So I started with infants. What do babies care about? Babies don't worry the way that we worry, but they definitely feel distress, right? When they're hungry or they're uncomfortable because they poop their pants, or if they have to be separated from their caregiver or whatever, because their entire world is really focused around one question: can I trust that I am safe right now? And this lines up with early development research, that shows infants really do rely heavily on caregivers to build that sense of trust and security, because it's how they stay alive, right? They need that caregiver. So then toddlers are a little different, right? They're like, can I do this and still be safe? Because now they want independence, but they also sometimes don't want you to leave them, or don't want you to change the routine, or don't want you to make things weird and unusual and something that they're unfamiliar with. They're testing the edges. So their core question is now, can I explore without losing safety? And then there's the kids that are a little older than that, and they start wondering, am I good at this? School hits and comparison hits really hard. And now they're asking, am I smart? Am I doing this right? Am I going to get in trouble? Because at this stage of development, it's all about building competence. And so they're constantly asking themselves, am I capable? Am I capable of doing this thing that's being asked of me? Then we move on a little further. We're talking preteens. What do they care about? They want to know, do I belong? This is where things get real spicy, yeah? Because at this age, friendships are everything, and being left out is positively devastating. I can still vividly remember certain experiences from my youth where I wasn't invited to something. I think my friends got together for a Super Bowl party and I, for one reason or another, wasn't invited. And I remember sitting on AOL Instant Messenger and I was actually talking to them while they were all together and I wasn't there, and it felt so awful. It felt so awful. And they weren't like mad at me or anything like that, but I didn't go to this thing. So it was devastating. So the question here is, do I fit in? Right? Am I going to get invited? And then they get a little older and they're teenagers and they're wondering, who even am I? It's like a total identity crisis, but it's daily. And so they're worried about their body image and social media and their relationships and, what am I going to do in the future? And the brain is extra sensitive to social judgment here too. So teenagers are kind of asking themselves, who am I becoming? Right? Who am I supposed to turn into? Then we're young adults and we start wondering, am I building the right life? Because now we've got careers and maybe longer term relationships and we're worried about money and our purpose. And we ask ourselves, am I choosing the right path and the right people to be in my life right now? And then eventually we get to glorious midlife and start to think, does any of this even matter? And this is where things get really real because we consider, career satisfaction. Yes, I got a job, but do I like it? And parenting and dealing with aging parents of our own and just the overall meaning of what we're doing with our life. And we start to wonder, am I making a difference? And then in later life, as my mentor was sharing with me, the concern becomes much more about, did my life matter? And this is where his voice comes back into my head, because at this stage, the concerns shift to your health and your independence and reflection on what you have done, not so much what you will do. And the question is, did I live well? Not, can I do 100 push-ups in 2 minutes? They don't care about that so much. So the part that changed everything for me across all of this is that there's really only 3 core needs driving pretty much the entire human experience: safety, connection, and competence. And this is backed by self-determination theory, which is one of the most respected frameworks in psychology. So in a more human language, though, we are asking ourselves all the time, am I safe? Am I valued? Am I capable throughout our lives? And suddenly everything makes a little more sense now, right? So the toddler that cries when mom leaves is not necessarily being dramatic. They're concerned about safety. And the 8-year-old who's melting down about a spelling test is maybe not overreacting. They are concerned that they're not competent enough to take said test. Or the teenager who's totally obsessed over social media, maybe they're not shallow, maybe they're just worried about belonging. And the adult who is burning out, trying to do it all the time, they are worried about all 3 of these things all at once, all the time. And in the fitness industry, let's talk about it. For a long time, I built my workouts around intensity and calories and exhaustion. Because like I said, I wanted people to feel pooped when they left because I thought that's what they wanted. I thought they wanted to leave feeling like they got pushed to the max. But what my mentor, I believe, was really saying was people don't always need more challenge. Maybe sometimes, but they don't always need more challenge. They need more support. And that's especially true as we age, because when someone walks into a class, I would argue in midlife or beyond, they are probably not asking, can you destroy me today? I have very rarely had someone come in with that as the ultimate goal. they're more likely asking, can you help me keep my independence? Can I trust that my body can do this? Do I still have control here? Right? And so this is why things look different in my head, because it's not just movement and music and sweat anymore. It's about emotional safety and confidence building and really important nervous system regulation. And I'm realizing that the work I do at MoveMaker, it's helping people feel capable, connected, and in control. Because your worries, they evolve as we age, but your needs, they're pretty much the same as they have been since day one. You're still needing safety, connection, and competence. So ask yourself, what are you actually chasing right now? Are you chasing more control, more connection, more confidence? Name it. Say it out loud, because that's where the real work is. We spend our whole lives thinking that we are changing, that we've got different problems or different goals, or we're in different seasons. But underneath it all, we've been asking the same question since we've been in diapers, my friends. We are asking, am I safe, valued, and capable? And the most powerful thing you can do as a coach or a parent, or to be quite honest, just a human, is to help someone else answer yes.